I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. Good morning. Next is approval of today's agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next is approval of minutes of 4/1 of 2026.
Lance, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated April 1st, 2026.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now is claims for payment.
Motion to approve the claims for payment for April 8th, 2026.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now I have is consideration of proof Class C retail alcohol license for Radcliffe Friendly Fairways.
Lance, I'll make a motion to approve the Class C retail alcohol license for Radcliffe Friendly Fairways effective April 15th, expiring December 14th of 2026.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now I have one is for the Loyal Order of the Moose Lodge.
Lance, I'll make a motion to approve the Class F retail license. It is for the Moose Lodge. Effective May 1st, 2026, expires April 30th, 2027.
And I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have is consideration to approve the resolution 2026-11 budget appropriations resolution fiscal year 25-26.
Lance, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-11.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? We didn't appropriate all the funding right away. This would be the remainder of it.
Correct.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
TJ.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now is consideration to approve the Iowa DOT Hardin County 5-year construction plan. Taylor.
Yep, here we are again. So not much change. Mostly things were just moving down. Local projects that we didn't do also came back down. So the big ones for this would be 2027. Your big ones would be the bridge on near Gifford on the highway, right there at the quarry. You guys can picture that one. And then paving D41 by the county home to the landfill. That one got approved for the Region 6 funding, so about 80% of that will be paid for through that. And then the Iowa Falls Bridge as well on the city limits. So those are your big ones for 27. Moving into 28, we're going to pave S21 out there by west of Radcliffe. Yeah, it's been over 30 years. Then just some like local gravel road bridges. And then for 29, we're going to take a year off of paving to save money. And then in 2030, we're going to do the road south of 175 down to Witten. That is our oldest asphalt road we got. So that one's about as old as me. And then
Actually, it's older.
no, that's from 89. It's close.
Okay, the cement part is.
Yes, yep. And then we have a bridge or a culvert on the highway down by west of Union. And then for 2031, which will be the last year, we got a gravel road bridge by the quarry, and I did not add a paving job there. We're gonna wait and see how the money plays out there, but there'll be a paving job due about then or the year after that as well. So, not much of a big change since last year, just kind of moving stuff down.
Remind us what we're doing this year.
This year we're paving and this should start soon. They want to start a pre-con. Would be the D41 from 175 north to the Red Rock line. So, and that's gonna get wider shoulders, so that should help, because it gets 1,000 vehicles a day. It's a highly traveled road, especially for the people here in town. And then we're doing a gravel road bridge on H Avenue. They're gonna pour the deck on that soon, so
I thought it was underwater.
well, it's not underwater anymore, it's all good.
Alright,
So those are our big jobs this year. And then I assume later this year is when they will start that Iowa Falls Bridge, if everything goes well with that letting. I think it'll be a over 12-month kind of job.
would you say that one's east of Free Express?
Yes. Yep, on the Iowa Falls truck route.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, any questions?
Lance, I'd make a motion to approve the Hardin County 5-year construction plan in coordination with the Iowa Department of Transportation.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now is consideration to approve the Iowa DOT Hardin County secondary road budget.
Lance, I'd make a motion to approve the Iowa DOT Hardin County secondary road budget as presented.
I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Want to talk on that a little bit, Taylor? or-
It's just the same thing, it just matches your numbers, so yeah, nothing special. The only thing that's out of ordinary is budgeting for our building. And I've already paid a portion, so with the stuff that is budgeted, it won't use that much, but it's budgeted in both years just in case.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now I have is consideration to approve request to hire in the sheriff's department.
So I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the request to hire in the sheriff's department.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? This is where they have one full-time person leaving. They want to hire 2 part-time people in, anticipating possibly losing another full-time and then moving the 2 part-time to the full-time. I think if I remember it right.
Is that correct, Dave? Yes. Okay.
Hearing another discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Clancy's got my utility permit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did it?
Yeah.
Consideration to approve utility permit UT 2026-04 for IRUA.
Lance, I'll make a motion to approve utility permit 2026-04.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yep, so this is a directional bore of a rural water line up on S62.
And if it crosses any drainage, they'll have to get a permit through them as well.
Correct.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thanks, Taylor. Next is consideration to acknowledge receipt of the auditor's report of March.
Motion to approve or acknowledge the receipt of the auditor's report for the month of March.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Now is recorders.
Motion to acknowledge the receipt of the recorder's report for the month of March.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. And now the sheriff's.
And I'll make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the sheriff's report for the month of March.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Now I have is conservation.
I have a pair
Or
of
change of status.
There's a pair here. The first is for the Conservation Department. I'd make a motion to approve the change of status of the hiring of Kurt Lambertson, permanent part-time as an administrative assistant at $18 an hour effective April 6, 2026.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Now the health board.
I would make a motion to approve the pay increase for Kendall Linneman, the environmental health specialist, at a rate of $71,340 an hour per her contract of 12-month review after hire.
I'll second it. However, that's not per hour.
Or annually, yes.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Other business. I got EMS Advisory Committee.
Bill, hang on down.
First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to do this. I've got to move to Iowa Falls in Thanksgiving time. And I've got to meet a lot of people. in this process. After a couple of meetings, 10 services, we don't have any animosity. We don't have any disagreement. We have some discussions which direction we're gonna go, but it is amazing to me to see how many of these people are on the same page, wanting to do the same thing, which is to make sure that we continue to have a strong, robust EMS service through all of Hardin County. We've met a couple times. We've gone through financial summary. I have copies of that here. I have one for the clerk as well. There's 3 for you. This form has actual for 2024 and 25 on the left half, and then the 25-26 budget on the right. We have gone down through the services and had them report, here's our expenses, here's our income. You can see where we are. I'm bouncing right down to the total numbers. You have 3 highlighted numbers. First one is the actual the shortage for the past year of 24-25 with 854, 266 and 52 cents. The budget for this next year is 1.4 million and change, because there are it's time for some capital expenditures in both of our ALS services. We are running an average $1,166,327.26 short. That is a 2-year average, one experience and one off the budget. There's been different questions I've asked, where are the shortages? It's everywhere, depending on who you talk to. There are the first responders. Several of these guys are buying their own gloves. We're not even providing them with their safety equipment. They are, when they get done with a call, they go beg their EMT service. Mostly they're going to the paramedic services saying, I'm running low on this, can I have some of that? And both of the paramedic services are they're helping them. The first responders are the ones that are really, they don't have a ton of expenses, but they're not getting much help. A lot of, they're getting money out of townships, they're raising a little money, but most of the money that they're getting is, this is what we have, so we're gonna allocate this much to you. It's not based on their need, it's not based on their expenses, it's based on what the entity paying has. The thing that is interesting in these, if you go to the bottom on the right, starts where it says the operating expenses and the percentage. On the average of the 2 years, the total expenses are 2.2 million. 1.7% of that expense, under 2%, is in the 5 first responder services. The next number is 3.01, and that's in 3 EMT services with ambulance. 95% of the expenses are in the full-time paramedic services in the 2 communities. Now, they have people on all the time. They have payroll all the time. They will go anywhere that they need to go in the whole county. There's somebody available all the time. Their expenses, that's why their expenses are so much higher. We have come to the conclusion that there's 2 kinds of funding that we can ask the voters to approve. One of them is a real estate tax assessment or an income tax. In discussing the income tax option, we would be counting on information from the state. I know that that's been a struggle in other areas, other counties that have tried to get that information. It's slow. our goal is to, if we're gonna do this, we wanna be on this year's regular ballot in November. The property tax option is a whole lot simpler. It's in county. We know what the numbers are. We can project what the numbers are gonna be. We can project and give a good estimate to the voters ahead of time. Here's what it's gonna be. We can't do that with their income tax because we don't have that information. That information's only, it's not available. Department of Revenue and the IRS both will not share that stuff. So we're not gonna do, we're asking to not do the income tax. Our shortages vary. If there is an interested person in finding out exactly what shortages are there in their area, I really recommend they get a hold of the service director and the service in their area and just say, what's really happening? And I can tell you, those directors know exactly what they have, and they're all gonna be different. The thing is everybody's short. Reimbursement rates from insurance and especially Medicaid, Medicare keeps going down. On a personal note, I took an ambulance ride a couple of years ago with a heart issue. 21 miles. It was just EMT. Took me up and left me at the hospital in Fort Dodge. The bill was $1,550. And my insurance company paid him $998. The rest is insurance right now. The same trip under Medicare at that time was $175. That's all the service would get. When you look at the rural counties, we're dealing with older population. We have a higher percentage of citizens that are dealing with Medicare. Our services are struggling with some of the billing. There's just not enough reimbursement of the costs when we make a call. With that, I would point out that what we're asking for in these funds is to help us be ready. I've had landowners say, my tax increase will be as much as an ambulance call. Well, if we don't have the money to have the service ready, there is going to be an ambulance show up. The tax levy isn't to pay for the ambulance coming out on a call. It's to pay to make sure we have the infrastructure, we have the building, we have the ambulance, we have the people, they're trained, their training is kept up, we have the supplies to do it safe. And frankly, to have the equipment on each truck that will keep a person alive until you get them to the hospital. That is the EMS's job. Keep them alive until you can get them to the next place. This is asking to make sure that we can keep a robust, growing, and not lose any of the services in this county. I can tell you that the funding struggle is enough that if we don't find a way, such as this property tax, to help support the services that are out there, we have a good chance of having services limit what they can do, the area that they can coverage, the area of coverage that they're willing to go out for, the number of people that can be on the clock all the time. How do you find people to do it on a volunteer basis when you've done it with paid employees? And the paramedic level, that's what you need to do. Those folks can, right now, they can go just about anywhere if they want to. We're short. We don't even have enough in all the services that want to hire good medics here. I'd hate to see it where we get to where I moved from Webster County. There's only 3 transport services at any level in that county. And their population's almost 30,000. Now, Fort Dodge Fire gets the majority of it with Fort Dodge. But there's only 2 services that are transporting out, and they're both in the southern half of the county. And there are times where we call Fort Dodge and say, there's nobody here to go out. Can you guys send one? And there have been times where Fort Dodge has said we can't. We've had people in nursing homes in the middle of the night on the weekend where somebody's got to put them in a car to get them somewhere because we couldn't get an ambulance. We'll get there if we don't find a way to help these services survive. So I'll talk forever because this is something that I'm passionate about, something that I want to see stay. Our request is this. Where the Hardin County Essential Services Advisory Board is recommending that the Hardin County Board of Supervisors proceed forward with their designation of emergency medical services as an essential service pursuant to the authority granted to the supervisors, the Iowa Code Chapter 422D, place on the November ballot a measure authorizing an annual property tax of 75 cents per thousand of taxable property valuation to fund EMS services throughout Hardin County. Question.
Is it gonna be used for capital projects? What's it gonna be used for? That's pretty brief for a referendum.
Um,
Are there details?
right now, there are services that aren't even paying a stipend to their volunteers. They're pure volunteers. People should be getting paid when they're on call. So
is
we're
that
talking about staff. We're also talking about supplies. Are we raising money just so we can buy ambulances? That's not it.
But when I say capital, I'm talking gloves, I'm talking the things you talked about there.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Capital to me is buildings and trucks. Because the gloves and bandages and airways and all of that, you use them once and you throw them away. It's expendable, just like cleaning supplies at your home are. That's their.
I think that would be, we'd classify that in the referendum language as a durable medical equipment.
Yep, and it's, and a lot of it's one-time use. And the other thing is most of that stuff has expiration dates on it. Well, we have it, we didn't use it, it's great. Well, you can only hold on to that stuff so long and you gotta get a new one. A lot of plastic, it degrades. And we're talking about people here, not parts and machines, so we really have to watch that. But yes, using your definition of capital, it's making sure we have supplies, it's making sure we have people that are trained. The training does cost. In Webster County, they were able to increase service just because the county supervisors, and this was before they did this, the county supervisor said, fine, we've got X number of dollars, we'll pay for people to go to EMT school. I went in under that 6 years ago and they spent the $2,000. I went to school for 4 months and I was in an ambulance.
And the reason I'm asking is if I get questioned, I get asked, what are you gonna spend? What am I voting for? Well, the referendum that you just presented to me, we're asking for 75 cents per thousand valuation for ambulance services. For what? To who? For what? You didn't define.
I kind of think I did, Lance. We're approaching a time where we're not going to be able to guarantee and we're going to show up.
I understand that.
That's what we're after.
But that's not the question.
Can I ask? The county is the trustee of these funds. The trustee needs to know what claims to pay. And so that's kind of maybe what Lance is getting at is what's the process going to be once the money arrives? How does the county decide what is to be paid and what is not to be paid?
Well, from my experience, the county's the trustee. You're collecting it. You are going to put it in a designated fund. And then as is prescribed, it gets divvied out.
Who's the
And
beneficiary?
the agencies will get the money.
So there'd be 10 agencies that are beneficiaries?
Yep.
Then how does the agency decide who's getting too much or too little? mean, there's a process that we have to process
Yeah,
claims, so that
And,
doesn't.
and we're going, if you put this on a ballot, our ballot is going to have a very precise division. Tax money that is received from taxpayers will be spent on the service that covers that area. We're not letting folks say we're sticking this money in here and it's in a pot to spend on EMS and we'll decide where it's gonna go when we need it. It's going to go out to each service based on the coverage, a certain percentage. If it's a service that is only doing, that only has first responders, well, they have to support their ambulance service that is coming to help them, whether it's the basic service or if it's the advanced.
Is that flushed out in writing somewhere?
It'll be flushed out.
Okay.
This thing is, as I understand it, this is a two-step process for the supervisors. Number one, we need to know that you're going to approve EMS as a essential service and that you're agreeing to the 75 cents a thousand. Once we know that, then we're gonna go and work through the details that you have, and you're asking questions that we will have hard answers for you when we bring you the referendum for the ballot.
The county's already determined that it's an essential service, that's why the process is where it's at.
Okay, fine, you've determined it's an essential service, but we're asking for it to be 75 cents per thousand. That is what needs to be approved. If you will agree to that amount, then we'll put those details. The way I've been seeing it work other places is, and I'll see if I can get all the way through this one without having to stop. The money comes, the supervisors have a fund set up to where it goes. The voters in Hardin County are gonna vote on how that money's distributed. It's going to be in the referendum that we give you.
Well,
That's what we're waiting for.
you guys make a recommendation, but the supervisors craft the wording of the referendum that goes on the ballot.
we get to make a recommendation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we'll have it written in a way that makes it real clear to the taxpayers how we're accounting for it. Now, I want to try and finish again through the train. I haven't been allowed to do that yet. The supervisors decide how the money's divided. That's what the supervisors track. The recipients of the funds, in this case, it's the different emergency EMS services, have to account separately from their other accounting. This is the money I received from the tax dollars. This is how I spent it. And that report has to be presented to a committee similar to the one that is now an advisory board. In other places, they just turn the advisory board into the oversight committee. They put the numbers together to present how the dollars were spent to the supervisors. Most of them are doing it annually, some are doing it semi-annually. But that's when the report comes on how it's spent. What you're asking me to answer for you is that I know exactly what the future expense is going to be in each EMS service. And that you can't do. We don't know who's gonna call and needs help. We don't know how many volunteers we're gonna be able to keep. That stuff is those expenses are gonna change. And that's the way it's always been. None of that's gonna change. This is funding to help us make sure we can keep the ambulance services that you have in place. And yes, there will be hard accounting for every penny of it.
Jake, you had a question?
I know that the dollar amount of the valuation is not precise at the moment, but for simple math, let's just use $1 million. And you're proposing, and you've gotten buy-in from the ALS services, the BLS services, and,
Well, I'll address that statement quick.
okay,
All 10 services have agreed to what it is that they're supporting what we have submitted. We've had our discussions when we were done. This is what we're submitting. Everybody was unanimously supporting what we're submitting.
so based on, let's just say it's $1 million, that would, and you're saying 70% would go to, ALS, so that would be 350 for Iowa Falls, 350 for Eldora. And then the proposal is 20% goes to the BLS services. That's $180,000 split amongst Hubbard, Union, and Radcliffe BLS services. And then the remainder, 10%, would be split amongst the first responders, equaling $90,000 or $18,000 per first responder entity. I just want to put that up. Those are numbers based on $1 million valuation. I know it's less than that, but just for simple math. So looking at those numbers compared to the profit and losses that are going on now, it's not going to solve every problem, but it's going to give some cushion. It's going to give some viability and sustainability going forward. And the other big thing we have to remember is this money isn't collected November 4th of 26. It's gonna next.
If it goes through this year's election and it passes, the assessment would start on July 1st of 26, and the first taxes would be collected on the payments that would come in September of 27 and March of 28.
Yeah. So there is a delay in catch up.
Mhm.
So those are just my simple numbers that I think are gonna go out there. And again, it doesn't wipe out any deficits. It doesn't entirely fix the problem, but it's a starting point and it can give some relief to our communities that are doing their best to fix budgets.
Thomas,
You want to open it up to our EMS members, or do you have more to present? Are you ready for more questions or?
I gave you what we're
Okay.
asking you to do
Yep.
today, so we're to questions and discussion.
I got Thomas.
So like, the other piece of that is to remind you that we're asking in that it goes back. So if it's collected in Clay Township, it goes to the service that is servicing that township. So your money isn't going to Owl Falls, it's going to whoever services your.
That's the answer I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
And that was where I was gonna come with.
Okay.
With your comments, his comments were general for the whole county. The fact of the matter is the numbers won't divide up like that because each ambulance service is going to be allotted the funds to them that were collected in their service area.
So valuation
Yes.
in their area. Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Phil.
And then of that, let's say it's a first responder agency and they get $20,000. They're going to keep, based on this divide, they're going to keep 2,000. And then support 20,000 to their ambulance service that's covering them if it's the EMT service.
Mhm.
And then 70% goes to the ALS service because they're the stopgap for everybody.
Yeah.
So, that's, and the percentage is based on. You can look at the division there where it was under 2% is the expenses of the first responders. Right at 3% is the expenses of the EMT services. 95% of the expenses in this county are in the two ALS services. They're the ones that are 100% of the time covering 100% of the county corner to corner, and in certain areas, because the area that they're covering goes out over the edges, they are helping in other places. It's EMS. We don't tell people no if we can't. We're gonna go. So it just. It's important that we continue to find ways to maintain the service we have. Because the way expenses are going, it's going to be hard for some places to keep at it. And we also have to focus on how do we get new, younger people to come into each service? Because everybody keeps getting older. I like playing EMT. I haven't assigned on to anybody yet because I'm new to town. I'm still settling in and figuring things out, so I don't have a favorite in any of this. My favorite is EMS service. I've had them come to my house. Even had them come once here in Iowa Falls, you know, they're quick in the middle of the night because there's people there. Call goes, they get in the truck and drive. We need to keep the service we have. We will lose it if we don't fund it. It's that simple.
Anybody else want to speak?
Yeah.
Come on up.
Yeah, come on up, Connie.
First of all, I just wanna thank the EMS service, because I know they've been working on this. These are the people that are out there doing the job. And they're the ones that need the supplies and the help and everything. So I want to commend them and I want to thank them for what they have done. I do question, though, one of the questions there, or one of the comments that Phil said, oh, I'm sorry, didn't know, was that that the EMS Essential Service Committee had discussed this and planned all of this. And my understanding that it starts out first with each township. Understanding that we had the support of the first responders and everybody working with the EMS, because I have a son that's a first responder and I appreciate that. But it comes down to also the elected officials, the mayor, the trustees, you know, so where are they brought in to all of this? And I guess that's where I'm just, you know, looking at the fact that, you know, the township is also brought in and all this. I think what the EMS Essential has come up with, or not the EMS, it's just Essential. Sorry, misspoke, because it's not the EMS Essential yet. But the EMS has come up with sounds like a pretty good plan. From what I'm hearing. But also just the corporation of, you know, the townships and everything, just because those are the elected officials that the people elected. I'm not even an elected official, so I don't qualify, you know, but, you know, where does that come in? And so I just appreciate the fact that this has started, but just looking at the steps in how it all goes. Because I didn't even know that these meetings were even occurring. So just my input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the Iowa code lists the board of supervisors as the stopgap as far as the elected officials that are responsible for how this thing works. They're the ones that pull the trigger. They're the ones that make decisions. Go ahead, Thomas.
Phil. So the question comes that when they did this back, what, 6 months ago, then BJ had a group of people meeting, but those people have not been at any of our.
Yeah, so actually, we had different options on who was going to be on the EMS Advisory Council Committee for Iowa Code. And when we had our first meeting in January to determine who was going to be brought to the table, it was explained to Daryl and I that the EMS providers believed that they could come to the table together, and we didn't want to put 42 cooks in the kitchen for that. And I think the way I look at it today, that my friends in the EMS community here have done a good job without bringing that many people in, especially with a tight deadline. So I really want to commend everybody for putting personalities and egos and history behind themselves to bring us something that I think is very viable going forward. So yeah, initially, to get every elected official, my initial proposal before hearing from our EMS community leaders was to bring in township trustees and mayors and bring everybody in. But our EMS provider said, hey, I think we can do this without them. We know that we have to report to our trustees and our city councils and, having, watched a few of the Eldora meetings and read in the, paper about the Iowa Falls. I don't know what's gone on in some of the small towns, but I think there's been very good two-way dialogue in between our providers and our elected officials. So I want them to have a place at the table, but when our EMS provider said, trust us, we can get this done in a timely fashion. I have great confidence. I have a great confidence in them to save my life, let alone work together to put a budget and something that is going to preserve EMS in Hardin County. So initially, we were looking at that, Connie, but just out of the ability to get 40-some people together, our EMS people said, hey, we can do this without them. We want them to be part of the process. But it just wasn't advantageous to do that. And I trusted them. And I couldn't be more proud of how they've worked to put a semi-finished product together.
Can I just say?
Yes.
I appreciate that, yes, and I appreciate our EMS, and I do feel. I feel as like you, the communication process.
Yeah.
Was just what was lacking.
Okay.
So what I'm taking out of this is a presentation that they brought to us. They gave us breakdown 10, 20, and 70. They have to be accountable back to the service areas, which would be the trustees, townships, and or cities. So before they could collect, they would have to be cleared through the trustees themselves. We're just a custodian of the money governed by each individual entity, not governed by us, the supervisors.
That would be if that's how you set it up.
That's how I heard it when Thomas explained it.
Because.
The way the money's being set up.
Yeah, cause I know there's conflict in counties that have already received tax dollars. That now the supervisors are sitting on it and it's not getting put out. And there's township leaders that are asking for the money to come out. The board of supervisors are the ones that have the power. But the code says that the report is
The
supposed to.
referendum has the power, not the supervisor. So whatever the referendum says is what.
I want to follow the referendum. And if that means we're solely a pass-through, just like when our townships or other entities request their money from the auditor's office, they put a request in writing and on our forms and documentation in a timely manner. So Jolene, do you want to, we got Carrie, Thomas, Mackenzie.
As the saying goes, 99 counties, 99 different ways. We don't have 99 counties that have this at this
Yeah.
point. But there are some, they only, the EMS services submitted invoice to us for the allowed expenses, or whatever the referendum states. Nothing more. Their invoice, they buy it, that money comes back out as a reimbursement. There are some that do not pay any wages, it's only supplies. There's some that is capital expenses, the big stuff. There's some that pay the training, but not wages. There's some that pay just paramedics. So I think this is kind of where you're looking at, where is our specifics? It's kind of like the school bond.
If we're gonna do it.
So
It has to go on the ballot.
But I think I missed, I might have just had the V8 moment. I think I missed what Connie was asking. However, the EMS service is managed now, if it's through a board that is appointed by 7 different townships, have a committee over their little EMS, fine. If it's each township, however that's managed, that's not gonna change. It's just, here's funds that are gonna come back to that EMS service. Their funding, however you're organized, it's still gonna be that way. It's now you just have another income stream. So I misunderstood the question and all of a sudden it rung a bell. So we're not changing how the different services do their accounting. whatever, there's accountability for the money they have now and how they spend it, and it's all reviewed. This is just gonna be another funding source for the same thing. You'll still be involved however you're organized in your EMS service area. Does that make sense?
That's what we need to put together in a referendum.
So,
I'd like to hear from Carrie real quick.
That's exactly what I was just going to say, was that essentially, under that philosophy, the county acts more as a pass-through. So that money gets handed over to the entities that currently exist to manage as they see fit. I also wanted to dovetail on Connie's commentary a little bit throughout these meetings. I know there was the public didn't quite know necessarily what was going on. But at least from an Eldora perspective, our representatives on this advisory board constantly were in communication with the elected officials in town, our city clerk, to help them understand, here's what we're thinking. Does this make sense with our budget? Does this make sense to you? Do you think we can sell this to the general public? Because the other component of this is when a solid referendum is drafted and put on the ballot, we still have a campaign to get people to vote for this. And ultimately, it should be the people's decision on whether they want to move forward with this. 75 cents on 1,000 is a lot for a lot of property owners. And it might be different for me than it is for other people. And that's okay. But we have to continue to get the word out on why this is important and help people understand that there are only certain ways we could have drafted this bill. So I would just encourage the supervisors. I know it's not fully vetted yet, and we don't have all of the details ready to go. But I would encourage you to vote for the 75 cents today. Let this committee go back to the drawing board and put those details together and come back to you in a timely fashion. So we
There's
can all
no
be
vote today, by the way.
Right, yeah.
What's that?
This is just
It's
discussion.
information.
Yeah, I would just encourage you to keep it moving, because I think it's really important. And I think they've done a good job of justifying that 75 cents.
Mackenzie. Yeah.
Just one thing, as I'm hearing a lot about like the townships and all that, there is some state legislative stuff that's happening right now regarding about 2431 or SSB 3009 that could essentially take away the townships. Those are still in discussion at the state level right now, so that would be one thing just to keep an eye on throughout this whole process, is if those do fold, then that could put a hinder in this plan, so.
and I don't think that's difficult to answer. If the township part isn't there, whatever part is there is going to take over and have the ultimate responsibility. That's gonna be part of the transition. So whether it's these dollars just out of the 75 cents, or it's dollars that are coming from anywhere else, those things are still gonna be under the supervision of whoever the entity is over that particular EMS
Right, but if your
service.
plan is to put all your money into, the taxpayers' money to go back into that,
Yeah.
whoever's district that they serve, then maybe do it by like your EMS district or.
Then,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
instead of your
that,
township.
that's what we would have to do there.
Thomas?
So that's. We've talked around it, we keep confusing it. Our proposal is that it is collected at the county level. It passes through to the service that's in that, whatever our service area is. Then that dollars come back to the service, so that means Clay Township, I think, actually only serves 1.5 townships. So Clay Township, if we collect $10,000, then 2,000 of that comes to the first responders. 18,000 of that goes to the ALS that's providing. It's not going to the county supervisors, it's not going, it'll go to the city.
It follows.
But it's by service area.
Yep.
And whoever, and then counties or townships that are split. So where there's a service area split within the middle of a township, then the discussion has been to count the number of sections in that township in the service area and divide that township by that percentage.
Correct.
And that goes to the service that's handling it.
Question, Don't we just love democracy? It's kind of messy at times, but this is what it looks like.
Yep.
No, so just conceptually, property taxes, money, assuming everybody pays on time and we have all the money in two shots, twice a year, right, every 6 months. So under your proposal, do I understand that every 6 months, we're cutting 10 checks, no questions asked, our job is done, 6 months later, we do it again?
Your question is answered every year. So we have to report to you, we have to report to the county supervisors what that money was used on. When
But I'm
you
saying we
start,
release it right out of the.
oh yes,
We just
within.
cut a
what do you
check
say,
every
for
6
your
months
60
to
days?
10 different agencies. And then you report back to us and we see how it went.
Right, because there's ongoing.
That's the proposal.
That's the proposal,
Okay.
because the expenses are ongoing no matter what. And currently, if the money doesn't come, then a lot of services are not going to be there. There's not going to be a service, so you might have Eldora and you might have Iowa Falls, but I can tell you that when we started, I was told there wasn't any budget for us. And I had to go each time for everything, new batteries, new everything, had to go to the city council, ask for the money, which is a ridiculous process. Because there should be a budget so that you can maintain the equipment that you have. And the personnel that you have, so it might go to cover a ambulance, it might go to cover personnel, whatever that budget looks like, because right now, budgets are falling short by
What
almost 50%.
what would be in place at the grassroots level, at the agency level, that the city or whoever doesn't borrow from Peter to pay Paul to make their own budget?
They- Again, it needs to go to a separate account. And it has to be in there that the city can't, and the same way with the county.
So each city
what
would have to
happen-
set up its own trust.
They do whatever they're doing for
The
their,
agency would
Yeah,
have to
well,
set up its own trust.
we have accounts now.
you would have an accounting system that accounts for those dollars.
Yeah.
Not the county, the agencies.
Right. And then our financials would have to come to you every year.
Yeah, it's
And it'd
my
be-
understanding, reading the code, is we have to make a
100%.
report to this body at least once a year, accounting for every penny we spent.
So what I would like to have specifically is, and I think this will, appease, us, is we would, in the ballot language, are these funds gonna be used for human resources, trucks, training, durable medical equipment, fuel, buildings, utilities? What exactly? It needs to be, spelled out. Is this for Christmas parties? Is it for, what is and what isn't? And those need to be very clear as, are these for human?
If the advisory council has handed it off now to the supervisors, which is kind of where I take this at, in the process, the advisory council's initial work is done, it's been handed off to the supervisors. I would recommend a series of workshops available to the public so we can hammer some of these.
We don't,
Well-
we don't think the way you gave us 3 steps. Set up our committee and meet and come and ask for what funding we wanted, and then to come in with a ballot proposal. We're not done by any means.
Okay.
We're asking.
So are you going, I mean, I wanna be respectful here, so what we need at this point, and I told everybody here, I was not gonna get in the way of the ballot language, I want this to happen. What we need to move forward is for everybody to get together again and propose what of those items that I just mentioned and or others do you want the public to know that this money is gonna, I mean, shoot, with what kind of money is being proposed potentially, Eldora and Iowa Falls EMS could utilize every penny of their allotment for human resources, correct, Corey?
Sure, yes.
So, right, I mean, just on human resources to make sure you have staffing for ALS. When it comes to Hubbard, Radcliffe and Union, if you said it was for the durable medical equipment, human resources, I think Union pays like $15 a call, so I mean, nobody's getting rich off that. But, so we know human resources should be covered. Should it be large scale capital equipment purchases like trucks? I don't know. Training, I think that would be a good thing. Durable medical equipment, sure. Fuel, absolutely. Buildings and utilities, I don't know, but I think that's where, not to kick the can down the road, but I want the experts that did a bang up job out of the gate to go back and bring that to me in 2-3 weeks. We're still on schedule here. We're ahead of schedule, and I'm so darn proud of everybody for putting us in a position where we're set up to succeed. But it's just, I think these are the finite details that the public's gonna need to know, not only by marketing it later, but on the actual ballot language itself. I know if I'm, as a voter, I want those details. I wanna know that everything is auditable, whether it's Rob Sand or whoever. I want everybody to understand that somebody wants to come in and see what Hubbard got or what they were reimbursed for, let's see it. In Iowa Falls, in Eldora's case, they could probably submit their payroll reports and that would be effectively showing, that they paid that money. So I think we all know what the next step is. And again, not to kick the can down the road, because I've seen this group of men and women do great things in a short time. Exceeded my expectations, and so I couldn't be more proud. I think that's the next step, is what is the tax dollar gonna be used for?
It's not a question of how much, it's what.
Right, the what, yeah.
So the outline you gave us, we were following. We
Yep.
were supposed to come to you and ask you what type of funding we wanted and how much. And you were gonna make a decision on that, and then we were gonna write a ballot. Are you changing that and telling us we're supposed to do it all in one now?
I think it all has to, that's just the proposal.
Well, I mean, if you want to defer to us, I mean, I'd be happy to do what Daryl said, and we have a couple work sessions, but I'd rather have the experts do it, Phil. It's
No,
really not deviating.
that's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
I'm saying we came today because we thought we were supposed to come to you
Yeah,
and say, we're asking you to approve the 75 cents per thousand, and we'll proceed after that.
Well, now we've had.
But I'm asking if that's not what we're doing.
I think we're at the point now, it doesn't matter what their steps were.
Yeah.
But I think we just go back to our meeting and come up with
the what?
using the 75 cents and then put the language in there. And we've already had some discussions
Yep.
about it,
Yep.
and then we can bring it back at a.
Yeah.
And just like what you're saying, this is not going to be difficult.
No, I don't see today's meeting as a hurdle. It's more of an update and a progress report that I'm really excited that we're at where we're at. For me, I'm just asking you to go back
Yep.
to your group and tell me what the whats are, what's reimbursable and what is not.
Yep.
And Mr. Brown and the media and the YouTube video and our minutes will reflect that we want the public to know what they're getting for that 75 cents on a dollar.
If the board set a workshop, a work session, would be open to the public, open to anybody on the advisory council. In a couple weeks, would the council be able to provide some more detail in writing in advance of that? I mean, just to kind of keep things moving.
Sure.
Because essentially, technically, I think it's handed off to the supervisors at this point, and they kind of have to take it up from here and.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
They either do that, or the advisory council meetings have all been public meetings in accordance with Iowa Code Chapter 21. So at any point, those are available to the public, including the three of us that we could attend. We would just need to agenda that different. I would rather attend that group's next advisory council meeting and listen to what they've got to say at that point and have them bring those recommendations back to us, or we can have a separate work session. But I can tell you what, from what Phil told me and what others have told me, to get 10 EMS, a representative from 10 EMS providers in a room at one time, and it's happened, that's pretty big feat in itself. So,
Agreeable.
and agreeable. So, you know, to do it twice, it doesn't matter to me. What I really need to hear is, we've gotten great information from the experts in the county. And I just need, I think we all need, and the people of Hardin County, it'll help marketing the referendum. What portion or what is the money gonna be spent on exactly, and what it's not going to be spent on?
And how it's gonna be accounted for.
Right. And no matter what it says, it's still going to be subject to state code of, you know, audits from Rob Sand's office or.
Right, that's the hard part I look at it is. When they look at the proposal, we just cut them a check. We're responsible, we, the county, are responsible for cutting that check.
Yep.
If they don't spend it the way, it's out of our hands at that point,
Right.
but we gave it away.
Right.
That's the hard part I look at on that. We're accountable for that till the very end. So I don't know if that's the best process. Maybe it's a reimbursable process.
Yeah.
I think the code says if this gets set up and you do it and the voters pass it, that you have to switch from an advisory committee to an EMS committee. And they're responsible to be collecting that data and providing it to you as you request it and need it. And that committee is responsible for making sure that the EMS services.
Which is all fine.
But at the end of
And
the
then we
day,
write the check.
yeah.
So
So you give us the receipt, we write the check. We don't write you the check and you give us a receipt later.
Yeah.
That's how auditing on our side. That's what we're.
Cause at the end of the day, Jolene and Lance, Renee and I are responsible to the state auditor's office. So, yeah, we can figure out a means of checks and balances. I'm sure of that. And we could ask our auditing firm, if Baker Tilly says, hey, we're gonna be working with you, we can ask them, what do you want for checks and balances in place? Yep.
And Michelle's a big part of this too.
Yeah.
Treasury's office is huge in this also.
And I know Michelle won't write a check. When I'm received. I know.
I take the money in,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to wrap my head around how. You've got to think about how this process, you're gonna tax. On the $1,000 for valuation per. District or townships, I'm gonna collect that. And we gotta think about how that all is gonna process in our.
What that workflow is. Yeah.
And how it's gonna be dispersed.
So I'm sure there's
Because-
townships that are serviced by
Theoretically,
multiple
it's not
services.
fire or school districts, because they don't
But-
follow township boundaries either, some of
But-
those.
But in that, there's a budget.
Right.
And then that is calculated by the formula of your tax rate.
Mhm.
This, you're saying. It's gonna be taxed at 75 cents per $1,000. I'm gonna collect it from each area. Work it out. I am just trying to wrap my head around how our current process works. This is gonna be a new process.
It's like a new taxing entity almost.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that the state, Corey Larson, Iowa Falls EMS director, the state did a real disservice to us in many ways in writing this legislation the way they did. Because it sort of predisposes a countywide EMS system existing, and we don't have a countywide EMS system here in Hardin County. So that's what really adds to some of the difficulty of all of this. If we were a county system, the accountability would be with the Board of Supervisors because that ambulance service would be run by the Board of Supervisors. What we have in Hardin County is, for the most part, we have municipalities running the EMS system. And so I think we need to be clear that all of our municipalities have their own ways of accounting for all of the expenses and the revenues that come through for our services. And that obviously won't change. This money coming from the EMS essential service levy will basically be another source of revenue into those those accounts that already exist and will still be accounted for the same way that our cities do it all the time, subject to audits annually, et cetera. So that's just the complicating factor that I think when you just look at this legislation, it seems like a great thing. And it could be if we were in a county where it was a countywide EMS system, it'd be much cleaner. And so that's why we really had to go to all the work we did to try to figure out how we can do this in a really equitable way that would benefit everyone in the county. Even though we're actually doing municipal EMS services for the most part.
Yeah.
So I think it's certainly something that's not insurmountable.
Couldn't agree with you more. The legislation was a one size fits all.
Right, if it would have been just an EMS district level option, that would have been great.
Yep.
Eldora could have said 3 years ago, we want to do this. If Idaho Falls wasn't ready, we wouldn't have had to. Unfortunately, it has to be done as a county. And so that's why we.
Yeah, nobody can opt out, nobody can
Right,
opt in.
not out or in. Right?
Yeah.
I might be showing some ignorance here, but how do the ambulance service lines go? I mean, are they by town, not a full township? It's gonna split townships, correct?
You
And
can
each
say,
service will-
generally speaking, it's townships, but there's places where that it doesn't follow a true line. Some of that's geography, right? So when you get up around like the Steamboat Rock area, when that was Eldora and Ackley covering that, the river played a big part of that, right?
Yeah.
You can get to these places faster. And then some of those lines, I don't know, they were drawn well before
Yeah.
I was around. Some don't make much sense to me, but
No, they don't.
we've corrected those little by little over the years to do something.
They mostly follow the fire district lines.
That's what I was wondering.
Oh, wow.
Mostly, but not exclusively.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's-
Yeah.
I can send you a copy of them. if you want.
That'd be great. Great.
Any other questions?
So, the city did a budget and the reductions evidently were not enough to fund EMS. Is that why we're moving forward with essential services?
No,
No, okay, it's not a,
that, I mean, that's a driving factor, budget is, but, service standards to make sure somebody in Iowa Falls has the access to the same care as somebody camping at Pine Lake State Park, as somebody that's camping at Daisy Long Park near Union. So it's been in the works. It's just been hard to get everybody to the table. And now the budgets have helped drive it, but it's not the sole reason. And I can let our EMS people speak about that, but I think I'm pretty clear, and there's just a lot of factors.
yeah, I can just see as a voter, adding on that 75 cents, someone might ask, why, was there further cuts that could have been made,
Yeah.
I don't know. And just another question, on the other surrounding towns, how do you guys decide what they pay for EMS calls? For example, I think I heard $15.
What they
I'm
think
just
the
curious.
staff.
That's a city.
That's
the city.
Yeah, it very,
Yeah, so if you go to Union, how do we get reimbursement for that?
at this point, you'd have to have a 2080 agreement. I don't know what each entity has. You're the service director. I'll let you answer that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose, and I'm Eldora Service Director. When we do have a 28 with Union, so if we go and help them out and one of our paramedics jumps in their ambulance, they actually pay us $250. Plus we also get to bill that ride. So
all the surrounding towns, you have agreements that.
not necessarily, no, because some of the towns are just, like, Thomas said, he doesn't have a budget.
Okay.
He can't give Corey $250 every time he goes there. So we really depend on, for those towns, we're able to, bill that patient.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah. Yep,
And I think the key factor is the towns are paying this, rural areas have not.
yes.
And I think that's one of the driving factors as to how this referendum would work. Unfortunately, the state, and I agree wholeheartedly with Corey, they really know how to mess things up. They could have increased the dollar amount right to the townships, and each township could have just done the same thing they're doing with fire anyway. But instead, we're here trying to create a new wheel when the old wheel worked fine. And they just need more valuation there, and I don't know any townships that wouldn't support ambulance. They can barely support the fire that they do, and I don't know any people in the country that wouldn't support ambulance or fire because we obviously use them. And the burden is on the cities in this case. So there is a driving factor on this, but the state really didn't give us the best option to get there.
On a lot of
Legislators.
things.
Yes.
They never ask us before they do these things.
So a simple motion could have been avoiding all of this and just increase the value to the townships.
Mhm.
But now they want to get you eliminate townships, as Kinsey said. McKinsey. But here we are, so I don't think anybody's arguing the fact that it needs to be done. Obviously, supervisors aren't, we made an essential service already. We just need to get the nuts and bolts figured out if we're gonna put on a referendum. Some of the things you want to watch for is this board will change. I don't know that you want it in control of this board. We might favor one side, we might favor another side, we may favor no sides. We don't need to be this, the referendum needs to state what this is. We're just the pass through. And I just want to create it the correct way, not today's way. Because 5 years from now, it could be a totally different board. And we have no clue who's going to be here. And you don't want to keep coming back to the board of supervisors for support. Because everybody's going to come to us for support. The referendum needs to say what the support is.
And we anticipated that, Lance, and we've already had these discussions. I think we weren't clear on what you wanted Phil to actually report today. So our next meeting is a week from today at 7 p.m. So April 15th, 7 p.m. And
Where's that at, Corey?
At the
EMA, okay.
And we'll be able to very easily put any finishing touches that are needed on our recommendation for the language. And then obviously Daryl will have to look at that and make sure that that's consistent with code and has the clarity necessary. But I think we're very close to having that language to do exactly what Lance
and I would add a sunset to it. A 5-year sunset, so it could be addressed and brought back again. Okay.
Either 4 or 6 years. That way it could, if it had to go to a referendum, it'd be a.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
The state code specified that it's a 15-year.
Oh, all right.
No, that's max.
Okay.
So.
But do you want to be locked in for 15 years over the same thing, or do you want to readdress it if something's not?
Well, I don't want to go to a vote again. But I don't know, we'll have to think about that.
I think that. Yeah.
So those are just kind of some of the things I threw out, but I'm glad you guys looked at that too.
Yes, we did.
Any other questions? All right. Any other business?
I got one. Just moving my crew to 410s. I was looking at the 20th or the 27th. Any opinions?
I always got opinion. It looks like the rain probably knocked out a lot of the process. My biggest concern I always have is before you move to 410s, the cross wheels are done.
So they're both okay?
Should be, I don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
I didn't find that.
Yep.
Okay, sound good.
Any other business? Hearing none,
Public comment.
public comment.
Yeah.
Daryl, come on in.
There was one ahead of me.
I believe you already spoke.
You just signed up for the public comments just for what you talked about, right?
The thing went around, put my name on it. So
Okay.
I've been out there already. Alright. This is our Minuteman Moment installment number 6, and it didn't occur to me until we got into that last discussion, how appropriate today's topic really is. It's about government by consent. So in 1776, America had a unique opportunity in history to create a government by consent rather than government by force or conquest. In today's installment, we complete the transition from man's natural state to the formation of government. After this, the declaration pivots slightly to what is expected of us as the governed as a check on government. Then we get into part 3, the list of the British violations that violated these principles of good government. So to recap the last installment, so I can segue into today's, we learned that the people create government to secure our God-given unalienable rights from transgressors of the natural right or God's law or natural law, which is God's law. And today that thread concludes that government derives its just power from the consent of the governed. Now, the combined takeaway from last installment and today's is that the design and end of government is freedom and security. Freedom to act within the bounds of natural law and the security from those that do not. And to achieve this, we voluntarily yield up to the community some of our rights and property for protection of the rights and property that we retain. So you'll see in part 3 of the declaration that these key principles serve as a yardstick by which we measured British rule. A government deriving its just power from the consent of the people. Again, simple words with powerful meaning. First, to derive. Since no one can grant what they do not possess, government cannot derive from the people what the people do not possess. Here, it's also important to remember that we derived our natural rights from our Creator, and those rights are subject to God's law. Thus, whatever power we grant government is also subject to God's law. Secondly, just powers. In addition to natural rights and natural law, we all have what Locke referred to as natural power, which is the power to impose judgment and punishment against transgressors that injure our life, liberty, health, and our possessions. Now, because personal justice is subjective and prone to abuse, and therefore not equally applied, members of society yield up this natural power to the government to judge the transgressors with equal justice and uniform punishment. And for this security, we sacrifice some of our freedom. Lastly, consent of the governed also means majority rule. When we enter into a body politic, we agree to be subject to the will of the majority when exercising its just powers. So the Declaration states succinctly the true measure of American government: securing our rights, limited government by consent of the people, majority rule, and equal justice under the law. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Thank you.
Thank you. One more public comment?
Yeah, Drew.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Drew Klutzer, and I'm the chair of the Hardin County Democratic Party. And I'm not making a political comment, so nobody. But this has been cleared through the county attorney via John Heitland. You guys were talking about that. So just a quick, wanted to just clarify a possible misunderstanding that may have developed over the last few years. First, I want to commend this Board of Supervisors for allowing people to exercise their right of free speech by addressing this board, their comments and concerns about what's going on in Hardin County around them. Didn't realize I was gonna have to follow the ambulance crew here, but anyway, second, it's been brought to our attention that certain comments that have been made by certain people some people might be under the impression that these are made on behalf of the county part, the Democratic Party. And we just wanted to clarify that this is not true. The party has, to my knowledge, until now, never sent a representative to this board to make any kind of comment. This obviously is not the forum for that. This is simply the business of the county. We would never do that. So we just wanted to clear that up and tell people that, yeah, if we were to send somebody to this board to make a comment, you would know about it. Otherwise, nobody speaks on our behalf unless we specifically tell them to, and we won't do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Drew.
No other comments? Well, before adjournment, I'd like to thank everybody for being here.
Yes, you too.
You spend your time and you volunteer a lot of time as well. And I can't thank you enough for what you do. If I sound negative up here, I'm not. I just want to get the nuts and bolts straight down. But that's what I want to do, is say thank you for all you guys do for us.
Yep.
I can
I
entertain
agree.
adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried for adjourn.
Yeah.